Today on Dr. Phil's Scam Week.
I feel like my mom sold me like a piece of furniture.
Were both of their biological parents part of an adoption scam?
Your birth father, your dad. His name's Frankie.
I need to know whether Frankie knew about the adoptions or not.
He claims his wife sold 8 of their children without him knowing.
Sandy is meeting her biological father for the first time.
Now,
You've not met him. Are you prepared for being in the presence of this man?
his children want answers.
I just want to know the truth.
If I knew about it, I would have turned her in.
She's having babies and putting them on the market, and you didn't figure that out.
I didn't figure that out.
It's happened to you once, twice, but you get her pregnant again and again.
Look how many damn babies are on that.
And they aren't holding back.
I believe they just wanted money, and I just want him to admit that.
Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
Today's going to be a changing day in your life.
5, 4.
I am not giving up on you. Well, today we're talking about a story that made headlines and was even the subject of a Lifetime movie called Baby Brokers. It's about a couple accused of scamming would-be parents out of thousands of dollars, promising them one of their unborn babies in exchange for some financial support. Take a look.
There's big money in the baby business.
I want a child more than anything. And it's amazing that people can actually scam you the way that they scammed me.
Debbie Freeman is a single woman who desperately wants a baby. When she found out she was infertile, she decided she would adopt. She took out a newspaper ad asking for a baby to adopt. Then she got a call.
She said that they needed to immediately come from Las Vegas to Los Angeles, so they wanted me to send them money immediately.
This is your birth father, your dad. His name's Frankie, and he's a little weird, so.
These people, Leanne and Franklin Dees, took Debbie to the cleaners. Debbie shot this tape interviewing the couple. One thing she found out was that they had already adopted out 5 of their children.
Debbie wound up flying the couple to California and putting them up in these apartments. Debbie paid all medical and living expenses, but the couple apparently used the apartment as a headquarters to answer ads from other couples to take their money and promise them a baby as well.
But then, a month before the boy was due, a very pregnant Leanne skipped town with the unborn child.
There she is, the woman police all over the country have been looking for. Her name is Leanne Dees. Police and the FBI think she may have cheated as many as 8 women around the country, promising they could adopt her newborn son.
You have a right to change your mind when you place a baby up for adoption. They're not making it look like an adoption. They're trying to make it look like I was trying to sell my baby, and I wasn't.
Well, Karen Leanne Dees was eventually arrested and convicted on 1 count of mail fraud and 5 counts of wire fraud. She spent 30 months in prison. Her husband, Frankie, says he and his now ex-wife had 10 children total, and he claims 8 of those were, in his words, put up for adoption without his knowledge. Now, Sandy was one of those 10 babies and claims her parents sold her like a piece of furniture for $5,000.
My name is Sandy. I was born in 1984 to Karen and Frankie Dees. The first 6 months of my life, I was bounced between 2 different families, Karen's sister and my adoptive parents. My adoptive parents bought me for $5,000. I feel like my mom sold me like a piece of furniture. When I turned about 5, I watched a show called Hard Copy.
Your birth father, your dad. His name's Frankie.
When my adopted parents were watching this, I could hear like all the adults in the house saying, that's her, that's her. At the very end of it, my adopted mom, she just told me that was my real mom. Just seeing her move and like, it was really, felt like she was almost talking to me.
Debbie wound up giving Leanne and Franklin $10,000.
When the reporter said that Debbie gave her $10,000, I just don't understand how you could put a price on any baby. It's really sickening. When I was about 23, I was able to find Frankie. Frankie said that when I was put up for adoption, he was actually in jail and he knew nothing about the adoption. He told me that he was still in touch with my biological mother, Karen. Karen called me and she told me that Frankie had forced her to put me up for adoption. To my knowledge, Karen and Frankie had 6 children that they sold between the 2 of them. I think that Karen and Frankie both were to blame for this. I need to know whether Frankie knew about the adoptions or not. He's got more to do with it than he's willing to admit.
Well, their youngest child, Ava, says she was just 2 days old when the FBI finally arrested her mother. She says she did not lay eyes on Karen again until she was 14 years old.
My name is Ava. I was born on December 3rd, 1992, to Karen and Frankie Dees. I was raised by my biological dad, Frankie, and my stepmom. I was 12 years old when I found out my stepmom wasn't my real mom. When I heard that, I was overwhelmed. I felt lost. It took DHS about 2 years to find my biological mom, Karen. I met her when I was 14 or 15. Karen told me that my dad brainwashed her and made her sell all of those children. Karen told me that when she got pregnant with me, she decided she was gonna break the cycle and that I was gonna be the one she kept. I didn't believe her. Why would I? I have 3 kids. Nobody's gonna tell me I have to give my kids away. She just really makes me sick. I do believe Frankie knew what was going on. He says the attorneys told him he had no rights. Maybe that happened once, but why did you keep getting her pregnant? I want my dad to own up to being a part of the adoption scam.
Well, Sandy and Ava are speaking out for the first time and really, understandably, are demanding answers. I wanted to talk to the 2 of you first. And Sandy, why are you here today? What's your primary objective?
I want Frankie to tell the truth. He claims that he knew nothing about it, but why would he continue to get her pregnant? I'm confused. I just want to know the truth.
Well, you think he's as guilty as...
Absolutely.
And I guess my question about this is, we're talking about 10 children here.
Yeah.
And of those 10 children, what, 7 were placed for adoption? He claims 8, so 7
still
or 8.
Nobody knows, yeah.
And he keeps saying he knew nothing about this.
Correct.
I've only got 2 children. So it's easier to keep track of 2, I'm sure, but I tend to notice when one of them's missing.
Yeah.
Don't you? I mean, don't you notice?
My kids don't let me forget.
Yeah.
Well, no, I would think not. And you believe that both parents agreed to allow another couple to adopt you, correct?
Correct.
And 6 months later, your mother took you back and gave you to another couple that paid $5,000.
Correct.
So your understanding is they adopted you out, took you back, then sold you to someone else.
Correct. I don't know if any of the adoptions in the beginning were actually legal. I think that it was like a temporary basis, but I do know that I was transferred between the 2 families.
Okay, but now, it's my understanding, and you guys tell me what your understanding about this is, because I want to know if I've got this correct, that with these children, of which you were among this group of children, they would be in contact with multiple families at one time, promising the child and taking money, support, whether it's rent, food, expenses, travel, from all of these different families at the same time for one baby.
Correct.
How do you wrap your head around it? What do you say to yourself about that?
I really don't. It's very confusing and it makes me feel really worthless. Like, I've had a really hard time with like abandonment and being by myself because of that. I feel like just being bounced back and forth, it wasn't very, people may not think that that early in your childhood can affect you.
Oh.
But knowing that, it's definitely done some damage.
Yeah. What do you say to yourself about this?
For so long, I've not said anything about it. I've tried to be strong, and now that I'm trying to wrap my head around everything, it's just overwhelming, and I don't know where to go with it. Yeah. I've tried for so long to just act like it's a part of my past. It never happened. I'm okay now, but it's just coming out little by little now, and it's a lot to take in.
And you say you wind up feeling like a piece of furniture, feeling worthless. So that can't stand. That can't be okay. And I don't expect to be able to snap my fingers and make that change right here in an instant. But you need to understand that kind of pathology comes from them, not you. When you saw that, what did you think?
So it caught my attention enough for me to sit down and listen to it all.
Did you know that this was you that was being talked about?
My adopted parents had told me that that was my biological mother.
And later...
You're saying 10. I've never heard that number.
Right.
That's 9 more babies? But why would you keep getting her pregnant?
Because when you're in love, love's blind.
What about the love for your child?
Wednesday.
I am 1,000% certain that I am pregnant.
You say there are 6 babies.
I am getting 6 heartbeats.
And you're how far along?
I'm 3 years, 7 months.
Medical miracle?
The ultrasound shows an empty uterus.
But I have more than one uterus.
Or all in her head.
There it is. Bam, bam.
You examined Zona, correct?
I did.
Were there multiple uterus?
That's Wednesday. Then on Thursday.
You've had 7 fake pregnancies. She was claiming that your son was her child.
She is a disgusting human being.
Let's bring her in.
All new Dr. Phil. Thursday.
Well, Sandy and Ava say they do not understand how their biological father can continue to deny any involvement in an adoption scam to defraud would-be parents out of thousands of dollars. Now, Ava says her sister Sandy found her on social media. You two connected that way?
Yeah, she was still young when I first contacted Frankie. She was still younger. So when I stopped talking to Frankie for a while, and there was a period of time, Ava got a little bit older, and she reached out to me on MySpace, and that's how we reconnected.
And you learned this whole thing when you saw an interview, a story about your mother on a show called Hard Copy, which used to be on back in the 90s, right?
Correct.
And when you saw that, what did you think? Did you know that this was you that was being talked about?
Not at the moment, but it caught my attention because they kept using the word adoption, and I knew that I was adopted at that early age. I always knew I was. So it caught my attention enough for me to sit down and listen to it all. And at the end of it, my adopted parents had told me that that was my biological mother, and pretty much explained the rest.
Mm-hmm. Listen, I want to be real clear here about one thing. There's terminology already been used in Frankie's description of this, put up for adoption. That's offensive to my sensibilities. Children are sometimes placed for adoption, which can be a very courageous thing to do. It can be a very giving thing to do if a better life can be had for a child. So I don't sit in judgment of people that make a studied decision to place a child for adoption for a variety of reasons. He's talking about putting these kids up for adoption, like putting them up for auction. That's not the way you talk about that, but it's the way he talks about it. Now, Sandy says that she has never even met her biological father, Frankie, and has a lot of questions. Did he have any knowledge his children were being adopted out? Or was he a victim of Karen Leanne Dees like everyone else? Before I do this, I consider child abuse to take many different forms. It can be physical, mental, emotional, neglect. It can be a number of things. And for that reason, I do consider what you've experienced to be abuse. And I am loath to put an abuser with their victim unless the victim gives me permission to do that. And so I understand this is new for you. You've not met him. Are you prepared for that? You're okay with this?
Yes, sir.
Because I understand why you would want to do it, and I commend you for it, and I support you in doing it. I'm glad you're doing it with me here, because I want you to have that support, and I assume that's why you want to do this here.
Yes, sir.
And you're okay with this?
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Because there's a lot going on here, and so you're okay in being in the presence of this man?
Yes, sir.
And because if you're not, I don't want to railroad you into a situation.
I want to be in his presence.
Okay, all right, fair enough. He says he didn't know anything about this. Well, we're going to find out what he has to say because he's going to join us here in just a minute. We'll be right back.
I did not know that she was scamming anybody out of any money for the babies. I found out that Karen put the baby up for adoption. I felt betrayed. If I knew that the FBI was looking for her, I would have turned her in.
And later, you didn't know she was going to be adopted?
Right.
You went to an adoption agency and signed some papers concerning your daughter. What did you think you were signing?
There she is, the woman police all over the country have been looking for. She may have cheated as many as 8 women, promising they could adopt her newborn son.
I do believe my father, Frankie, knew what was going on when my biological mom, Karen, was giving away kids. I believe my dad played as big of a part as Karen did. They wanted money.
I need to know whether Frankie knew about the adoptions or not. I think he's masterminded it. I would really like to know if Frankie even loved any of us or if we were just a piece of property to him. I need closure, and I feel like the only way I can have that is if Frankie comes clean.
Frankie says he had no idea that 8 of his 10 children were being, in his terms, put up for adoption when he found out he was simply told that he had no rights as a father.
When I was with my ex-wife, Karen, we had 1 kid a year for 10 years. I did not know that she was scamming anybody out of any money for the babies. Karen gave 6 or 7 of my children up for adoption. In 1983, 4 months after I met her, I found out that she was pregnant. That was very exciting. I grew up in a big family. That's kind of what I wanted. The first baby was Sandy, and she was born in 1984. When I found out that Karen was 4 months along with Sandy, I got locked up. When I got out of jail, I was able to hold Sandy in my arms and take care of her, and then all of a sudden, wham. I found out that Karen put the baby up for adoption, and the attorney told me that I had no rights to the baby. I felt betrayed. I just had to let her go, and I regretted it ever since. After the adoption, I still stayed with Karen, and we did get married. I was hoping that she would change, but Karen became pregnant again. She did the same thing to me again. She took off, and then she returned home, and she had like $3,000 or $4,000 on her. It was during that time that she signed the adoption papers. I found out that she was pregnant for the 3rd time, along about 6 months, and she took off again. I really thought that things were changing, and I stayed with her, and she did the same thing to me again. After baby number 4, I got so mad that I just came back home. Karen followed me, and we got back together. She got pregnant real quick after that. It was a boy. After baby number 5, I didn't want anything else to do with her, and I took off. And she showed up and did the same thing again. This time it was another boy, and she gave it up for adoption. And 2 months later, Karen became pregnant again, but this time she gave birth to a baby girl. Karen got pregnant for an 8th time. It was a baby boy with Down syndrome, and the couple did not want the baby. His name is Frankie J. Dees. Frankie's been with me for 28 years now. Karen gave birth to our son, Dalton, in 1990. Then the hard copy show exposed the scam that she was doing. Our last child together is Ava, born in 1992. Ava was only 2 days old when the FBI came knocking on my door, and the FBI handcuffed her and took her away. I felt great because she was finally having to pay for the heartbreak and the emptiness that she left me with. If I knew that the FBI was looking for her, I would have turned her in. The skeptics that say I must have known what was going on, when a man's in love, he'll just black it out.
Okay, Sandy is meeting her biological father, Frankie, for the first time right here now. So let's have that meeting. Frankie, come on out. Thank you. How are you,
Hi,
sir?
Dr. Phil.
Have a seat if you would.
Yes, sir. Hey, how are you?
Fine.
You doing great. Really? Can we hug each other? Is it possible?
She can do whatever she wants to do.
Okay, you want to? Okay.
I don't know.
Now, Sandy, you're 33.
Correct.
So tell me why your daughter is 33 and you've never met her before.
Then when she was born, I met her for 7 days.
There's been 33 years since then.
Right. I mean, it all leads up to that. You know, the reasons I've not met her is because I couldn't afford it. I couldn't afford to fly out or drive out to where she was at, and I couldn't afford.
Do you know where she was?
Yes, sir.
So have you talked to her quite a bit?
Yes, I talked to her on the phone off and on.
Well, let me start with you. Do you believe that he didn't know what was going on?
I believe he did. I believe they both wanted money, and I just want him to admit that.
Uh-huh. And anything you want to say?
I just want to know the truth. If you and Karen did come up with all this to get money, you're going to help us by telling us the truth.
Right. If that's where it took place, I would say that.
But what confuses me is there's so many of us.
Yeah.
And you got to see where we're coming from, where we're having a hard time believing you.
Yes,
because
I understand that. I do understand that.
That's where I got to draw the line, because in all reality, I do forgive you.
Right.
I know that you knew more about it.
I didn't know more than what I've spoke, what I've been asked.
But why would you keep getting her pregnant?
Because when you're in love, love's blind, and love doesn't know what you're doing.
What about the
really.
love for your child? I mean, that would be more blind to me than a man.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for anybody to get mad at you out here. It's not what I'm looking for. I could see maybe it happening one at a time, okay?
Right.
All right. But you're saying 10. I've never heard that number.
Right.
That's 9 more babies
Right.
that you sat there and continued to let her
Right, but
just
I mean,
get rid of.
things happen and you're able to block them out, to stay with that person, that person is going to make you a family. You're going to get a family from that person. And
Did
come
you?
to find out, you're not.
But did you? I mean, after a certain amount of kids, you had to realize that it's just not going to happen.
Right, and whenever she was picked up by the FBI, that's when I realized what was going on. Yeah. If the FBI hadn't located her, and I knew about it, I would have turned her in.
Well, I thought love was blind.
It is.
So
To
why
a
would you
point.
turn her in? If love's blind, why would you turn her in?
To a point.
When we first talked to you, you said 7 children. Then finally you said 10.
You're talking about something that happened 30 years ago.
Well, I've got a son that's 30, and I don't forget him ever. When we first talked to you, you said 7 children. Then the next day you said 9. Then finally you said 10.
Right. Where we sit down and we counted them.
What's
and we
2 or
figured-
3 kids?
I mean, no, I mean.
What the hell?
there's
Come
more.
on, man.
You know, 2 or 3 kids don't make no difference.
Well, you
Look
say
at that.
7 when it's 10?
Because you're talking about something that happened 30 years ago. You know, and how are you going to remember step by step what happened 28 years ago?
Well, I've got a son that's 30, and I don't forget him ever.
I had never forgot them. I never forgot them. They were there, and I never forgot any of them. I never forgot any of them.
Okay, well, let's just assume you misspoke.
Okay.
Okay, let's just assume you misspoke. I don't want to belabor that point because there are so many others I do want to belabor. Okay, now, I want to look at this from your point of view, okay? And I'm the least judgmental person I've ever met. I am, however, not stupid, but I do want to try to look at this through your point of view. I wasn't there, so let's talk about the first. Your first right, is Sandy here. And you say she was adopted and that you were told that you had no rights.
Right.
And let's be clear, you weren't married at the time.
Right.
But were you the biological father?
Yes.
I know that you cannot place a child for adoption without both biological parents agreeing to do so.
Okay. Well, I was told
I can't take one of my children at 2 or 3 and go out of town and adopt them out and then come home and tell my wife, oh, I decided to adopt him out, sorry.
Right. I mean,
and she said, well, and they just tell her, oh, you don't have any rights. The hell no, she's got rights.
Whenever you're by yourself and you're in a hospital, you're in a strange town all by yourself, and you got attorneys coming at you saying you've got no biological rights to these children. What are you going to do? You don't have money. You don't have nothing in order to fight them with.
I call the sheriff. Tell them they're kidnapping my child. That's what I do. I call the sheriff.
It doesn't do no good because you're in a strange town and you do not know the people.
Neither does she.
You know, she knows the people because she's got an attorney. Somewhere along, someone knows somebody and they have an attorney.
So you just said, okay, bye.
There's nothing else I can do. Nothing else I can do or say.
Someone is taking your child and there's nothing you can do or say.
Right. That's what it was put to be.
Did you try to do anything?
A couple of them I did.
Well, let's start with this one that's here, number 1. This is your biological child, and someone, you say the mother, placed this child for adoption without you signing off on your child. They took your child and placed it for adoption without your consent.
Because at the time that she was born, her mother had married another guy.
Who was not the father.
He was married
He was
to
on
her.
my birth certificate.
Well, you can put Batman on your birth certificate, but he is not your father. This is your father.
I understand that.
Okay, so you're overwhelmed in the hospital, okay?
Right.
I get it. Let's go with that for a minute. You're in the hospital. She's got attorneys in the delivery room or something. They're around there. They've got papers. They're attorneys and papers, right?
No, when she was born, no.
Where were these attorneys that you're saying?
They were at the adoption. When she was first born, I got to meet her. I got to spend 7 days with her.
Mm-hmm. And then she was adopted at what age?
Roughly a week or 2.
Okay, so you had 7 days, but were you ambushed? You didn't know she was going to be adopted?
Right. I had no idea that she was
And when
being
did you
adopted.
find out about it? After she was gone?
Whenever we went to the adoption place, and I was met by an attorney.
Oh, so you went to the adoption place?
Yes.
To do what?
I went there to sign a paper, and I went there and I signed the paper.
To consent to the adoption?
No, I don't think it was that.
Well, what was it?
I don't know. I don't know what was all on the paper.
Well, it wasn't a lunch order. You went to an adoption agency and signed some papers.
Signed one paper.
A paper concerning your daughter.
Right.
After which your daughter disappeared.
Right. My daughter disappeared before that, but...
Okay, so you went to the adoption agency and you signed papers at the adoption agency.
Right.
What did you think you were doing, buying a lawnmower?
Well, no. No, I don't.
So you knew you were signing adoption papers? You were consenting?
No, at the time I did not know that I was
What did you think you were signing?
I did not realize what I was signing.
What did you think you were signing?
At the time, I had no idea what I was signing.
Could have been a murder confession.
It could have been anything.
You felt very betrayed when she did this to you.
Yes.
Then why did you marry her?
We were in love at the time.
You got her pregnant again.
Yes.
And married her.
Yes.
Here's what you told us in your pre-interview, quote, Karen told me she found a couple to help care for Sandy. I thought there was no problem with that.
That's right. Wherever she was at the trailer, at the house, she was staying in that little box, that little chest type thing. And I thought that the people that she was having to watch Sandy had a bed and everything, and said he would be more comfortable there.
So you knew she was being...
I did not know she was being adopted. All I knew is that she was leaving the house, going somewhere to be taken care of.
Now, is
and
this...
not
Can I
given.
ask you a question?
You say anything you want, please.
Okay, when I was told, around the time that I met Ava, Cindy and Steve were supposed to have adopted me at first, and that they had me for a little while. Well, hold on before you say anything, just so I can help you out, because Cindy and Steve had my birth certificate.
Okay.
So somewhere along the lines, what you're saying is not right, because why would they have my original birth certificate coming from Karen?
Right.
Now, being adopted, I've had another birth certificate made.
Okay.
But my question is who had me then?
Cindy and Steve never came into the picture. They were never in the picture whatsoever.
Well, let me ask you something. So 6 months later, she comes back.
She don't come back to my house.
But she's unadopted at 6 months.
No, she's adopted out to...
That's not what I've been told. I've been told that Cindy and Steve had me for almost the first 6 months of my life.
And you felt very betrayed when she did this to you.
Yes, very
She didn't tell you. You just went down there and signed a paper. You didn't know what it was, and then you find out that she's actually placed your daughter for adoption.
Right,
and you felt betrayed.
Right, and I
then
didn't...
why did you marry her after that?
Because, I mean, we were in love at the time.
You got her pregnant.
Yes.
Again.
Yes.
And married her.
Yes.
And you thought, well, this time it'll be all up and up, right?
Right.
She won't do this.
Right.
Okay. But then she disappears for 4 or 5 months.
Right. In the 4th month, she disappears for a little while. Then she comes back, and when she comes back, she's spending quite a bit of money, more money than what I can make.
Okay. And she's still pregnant.
Yeah.
But she's got money.
Right.
And did you ask her where she got the money?
Yes, I did.
And?
And I was told it was none of my business.
So this is baby number 2.
Right.
Okay. So you're now married. You've gotten her pregnant again. At 4 or 5 months pregnant, she just disappears for how long?
She'll disappear for 2 or 3 months.
Just like you go home one day, she's just not there?
Right. Without notice.
And then, so 2 or 3 months later, she shows back up?
Right.
With a handful of money?
Right. And out spending money that I'm not making. I'm not able to make that much money.
So then that baby gets put up for adoption,
right,
according to you. She gets that baby gets placed for adoption.
Yeah.
And you said that they told you didn't have any rights there either.
Correct.
They wouldn't even let you see that baby.
Right.
So we're here at this baby. She disappears for several months, then comes back with a lot of money. Then the baby's born, and then that baby disappears.
Right.
And did you ask, like, you're not as big anymore, so you've had the baby, but there's no baby?
Whenever she would go to the hospital to have the baby, I was met at the hospital by the attorneys.
Okay, so that happened to you a second time?
That happened second time?
Okay, so you're seeing a pattern here, right?
Yes.
Okay, but then you got her pregnant again.
Yes.
It's happened to you once, it's happened to you twice, but you get her pregnant again.
Yes.
And this time it happened again.
Yes.
Okay, then you get her pregnant again.
Yes.
And it happens again.
Yes.
Now, okay, now, listen, I'm not trying to be insulting here, but are you detecting a pattern?
Yes, I am.
Look how many damn babies are on that.
I know.
Are you telling me that you did not know that you were part of a baby factory? You didn't figure that out?
I didn't figure that out.
Are you telling me that you did not know that you were part of a baby factory where she's out having babies and putting them on the market, and you're the one that's implanting them time after time after time after time? You didn't figure that out.
I didn't figure that out until on down the line.
And you were glad when they came and put the handcuffs on her?
Yes, I was very glad.
Weren't you just glad they didn't put them on you? Isn't that what you were glad of?
They had no reason to put them on me. Why would they be able to put them on me for?
It was called conversion. She was out doing this and getting money for it and coming back and bringing that money back home to you.
No, she wouldn't bring them back to me.
Well, that's what you say, but she was coming home, and where were you?
I was there wherever I was at.
You were where she was bringing the money back.
Where she came back to, yes, I was there.
This money that comes back with, she goes off and makes these arrangements with these people.
Right.
About, and comes back with money every time, right?
Right.
And you enjoy the benefit of that money, right?
No, I didn't.
You didn't?
No.
That didn't help pay rent, didn't buy groceries,
They didn't buy nothing for me.
So, what, she lived in one room and you lived in another?
No, sir, because whenever she would return with the money, I mean, she would go buy stuff for herself. And none of the money was ever used for food or anything of that nature.
Just for a second, pause and think in your head what you're saying. Because all these people are laughing and like, it's serious.
I understand these people are laughing.
I understand too, but
they're
what
not laughing because it's funny. They're laughing because it's outrageous that you're trying to take a position that you didn't know anything.
What we need from you is to accept it. Just say yes. This is what happened, and I'm sorry. It's very simple.
But it did not happen.
But listen to me. What I'm trying to tell you is, look how many damn babies are on that.
I know.
Okay?
I read all
I'll give you myself. Fine. You didn't know about it.
Yeah.
But look what you did to my siblings, okay? There are so many after myself.
I realize that. I realize that.
So when you tell me that you didn't know,
but
listen. All you got to do is say, yes, it happened, okay? And we can move forward.
But it didn't happen.
Look at all those babies on there.
It did not happen the way that it's put down here.
I know they didn't. That's why we're asking your side.
Hold on. What's put down here that's inaccurate?
You're trying to say that I was receiving money for the children.
So tell us how it was.
You know, that I was enjoying the benefits of her going out and putting the children up for adoption. I wasn't.
I'm saying there's no way you didn't know, and when she got that money, she came back where you were.
Right. She came back to where I was at.
Well, let's take a break, because we're going to fast forward to number 9. We're going to meet Frankie's youngest son. We'll be right back.
I found out that my biological parents tried to sell me to another couple for $3,000. These two look like she's having fun with the money that she's making. I feel like I got cheated out of a family, like out of a life.
Well, we have run out of time, but I still have a whole lot to say to this family. Tomorrow, Ava confronts her father, Frankie, about a dark secret from her childhood. We're going to meet Frankie and Karen's 9th child and hear how he found out about his adoption from the Lifetime movie Baby Brokers. Then we're going to meet one of the prospective parents who actually adopted a child from Karen Leanne Dees. Now find out why she says Frankie belongs behind bars.
Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil.
I just want you to acknowledge it. You took my innocence. You took my trust for men.
Plus, another child claims Frankie was part of the adoption scam.
You say he didn't want to keep the children, he wanted the money.
$3,000. You can buy a cheap car for $3,000.
My mom was arrested. You weren't. But you're clearly involved.
I wasn't involved in receiving money.
You won't believe what else Frankie's accused of.
I can't admit to something that I didn't do.
I didn't testify against you because you scared me. I'm not afraid of you now. That's why I'm here.
Believe me, you do not want to miss tomorrow. I want to thank all of my guests today. We'll see you next time.
didn't hear ya. I thought that I could fly, but woke up on the asphalt. I swear there was the last time. I've always been naive. Call it.
You know we gon' get it. Ooh, you know we gon' get it. Ooh, you know we gon' get it. Every day and night, that's right. Ooh, you know we gon' get it. Ooh, you know we gon' get it. Ooh, you know we gon' get it. Every day and night.
Used to